We left off Chovov. He spoke about a case, Chovov, page 227, that he brought this more lenient opinion, even if the leaves are all dry. And you have a situation where you have a leaf. You have three on each level. We said also there are times where you could have a hadas with some leaves, they're not three on the same level. But if the majority are three on the same level, that's a valid hadas. So let's say one of the leaves that are not on three on the same level overlaps the leaves that are dry on the same level. So what he said, since it covers over the dryness of the leaf and it's not noticeable, it retains its hadra status. That's what the Ramo said. So over here, I mean the Mechaber. So over here he says, after Sivgim Posek Mechaber Dezel B'chal Hadash Shoter. But factually, the leaf itself, there are only two leaves on that. It grew originally, there were only two leaves on that level. That's Hadash Shoter. It's not a proper, right? It's not a proper Hadas. Efsha Mayri Shoya Kol Orech Shir Hadas B'Ofen. Before we refer to a Hadash Shoter, where the leaves were only two on the same level. But here we're speaking about that the majority of the levels have three on the same level. So therefore that's classified as a valid hadas. And some of the levels only originally had two growing. That's what we're speaking about. Here initially all the leaves, all the various levels had three on each level, which is a proper profile of a hadas. He's learning differently. He's learning, it's speaking that two of the three leaves are dry, and one leaf is moist, covers over the two. Nearer the Nikahu Hahidur V'Kosher, the Halacha Kedei Harishona. He said, we rule like the first, that it's not valid. No, because we decided the Rosh is the more lenient opinion. The Rosh is the more lenient opinion. The first opinion was that if the majority of the leaves were dried out, right? And then he says, "Shtabot Rosh kol bad mishlosha badim kein echod ubo shlosha olin lachim." Right? We spoke about with the top. All the leaves are still intact, but they're dry, and the top three remain moist. Right? So factually we said, when you look at something, what do you look at? You look at the top. So since the top still is moist, that's called hodr, because that's the first thing you notice. The second one, no, they could all be dry on top. But as long as the lower ones, you have one overlapping the other, that's enough. Okay. Tess. Im osam olam shlo yovshu, hem kemushim. Yesh posum yesh matirin. He says, if the leaves, which did not dry, you have many dry leaves, but they're wilted. So you understand, we have wilted, let's say the three top leaves are wilted, not dry. All the leaves are dry, and the three top are wilted. We said earlier, wilted is not a basis to invalidate it. Right? It's not dry. But here, the problem is you have dry leaves, and then the top three are wilted. So this is not, it's bad enough the majority are dry. So here, hodr, at least if they're really, they look fresh, is one thing. But here they're wilted, therefore yesh poslan. Some say it's not valid, yesh machshirin. Since factually the upper leaves are not dry, that's sufficient that at a minimal level it retains the status of hodr. Let's see. We'll see. I don't know. The ones postlin. Yesh postlin, yesh machshirin. We'll see. Kamushin yesh postlin. Time of day matzah midei yovish alacha hodor. If basically the profile of the actual hadas is dry, and this is the only saving grace you have, so the saving grace has to be first class. The upper leaves have to be fresh leaves, not wilted. Yesh machshirin. No. Hider is no. This is no. This is not Zekelim Van Beyu. Every species has to have a profile of hider. When you buy, you buy Sefer Torah. It's not hodor. It's valid. It's not the optimum, but it's valid. Of course, the hodor there is enhancement of the mitzvah. This is not an enhancement. This is the profile of the mitzvah. Every one of the species of the dalaminim have to have the characteristic of hodor. If not, it doesn't meet the criteria of the species. So over here, that's our question here. Just as the Esrog is pre-hodor, therefore every one of them. So it's more than just heder mitzvah. Okay? That is the mitzvah. So some say, Sheimatzim the yovish elacha hodor. The Yishbach Shirin came into Komish kosher, since we said earlier, if all the leaves would be wilted. It's valid. Yochel hatzil kamod lach. Mamash. Ayin pri megodim. So the first day of Yom Tov, we take the dalaminim to Doraisa. The subsequent days are rabbinical. So he says the first day the Pri Megadim says you should be machmir. If they're all dry except for the top three leaves are wilted, you should be machmir. Okay? The Yom Rishon should Doraisa roy lahachmir. To Sofik Torah, Sofik Doraisa lechumra. Ubishar Yomim should drabonon, but the subsequent days were only rabbinical. Posa Sofik drabonon lokil. So you have a right to be lenient. So it's not because you have no choice. Because it's a Sofik. Sofik Doraisa lechumra, Sofik drabonon lekula. First day is Doraisa, you have to be machmir. Right? You want to take it, take without it. But a bracha, definitely not. You cannot say a bracha on it. Right? You can't say a bracha. So brachas lahokil. I mean, you're not permitted to say a bracha. You have nothing to lose by taking it. Right? If, in fact, the halacha is according to the other opinion, so you yotzi, it's better than nothing. It's like a person during the war. What happened in the war? The hilchos tefillin. Europe, it wasn't so simple to find kosher tefillin. Because it was, in terms of tefillin were exposed to many things, the elements, whether it was dampness and cold and heat and this and that, and not everybody could afford tefillin. Since tefillin were left in shul, they were actually manhandled, they were abused, so it means you shouldn't put them on. So you put them on without a bracha. You put them on. It's better than nothing. You put it on. If in fact they're kosher, so they're kosher. But to say a bracha, you definitely can't say a bracha on it. Right? I mean, the Mishna Berura says this. Same thing. I'm saying, first day is Doraisa. So let's say you have no alternative. Right? You say, no, you take it without a bracha. You say you take it without a bracha.
Even the first day.
He says, the first day of Doraisa, you should not use it. You should not use it. You should not use it. So I'm saying, let's say you have Sof Doraisa l'chumra. If you have an alternative, definitely you shouldn't take it. You have an alternative. What about the second day you have an alternative? You don't have to get it. You don't have to take another one. You take this one. Savi Jarabal Lukula says this is valid. Even if you have an alternative. You have to go to your neighbor, borrow his lulav if you have this. So then the first day you take it without a bracha? No, second day you definitely take it. You definitely take it. It's drabonon. You could deal with it leniently.
What about like tzitzis? Like if you're not sure, it's better not to wear them.
No, because there you may be doing the wrong thing. Because not carrying.
No, because then
You're wearing a baguette, a four-corner baguette without tzitzis.
So it's better just not.
Yeah, you should not wear it. You should not wear it. If it's a question whether the tzitzis are kosher or not. Okay. Niktam rosho kosher afilu also baltamro. Vodin liyovish rosho. It's not simple. We had earlier, if the top of the lulav is snipped off, the point, it's possible. What about that das? The das naturally has a tip to it. What happens if somebody snips off the top? Is it, he says, even if the also baltamro, when a person, let's say, has a cut, right? It bleeds a little bit, then afterwards you have fluids which cause a scab. Okay? When you cut off the top, since there's a certain degree of moisture even though it's cut, naturally it oozes certain fluids, and it forms something which looks similar to a date. I mean, there's a little something on top, so it's sealed. It's not just cut off. Something forms over there. So he says, if the top of the hadas is cut off, even if the tamra did not form, you don't have the tamara over there. It's literally just shaved off. It's kosher. It's valid. If the upper part of the top leaves dry, even though it's the first thing you see, right, as we discussed, it's kosher because since the rest is moist, it's valid. V'yesh poslim, v'niktam rosho. Others say no, that just as we had by the lulav, if the top of the lulav snipped off, it's possible. By the hadas, the same thing. Niktam rosho is possible. Hago, v'tov l'm hachmir b'mokum she'ef she'b'acher. It's best to be machmir if you have an alternative. If you can find yourself another hadas, the Rambam says you should get another hadas. V'lo mikri niktam elo im niktamu ha'etzim. What's niktam rosho? Only if the stem is snipped. Let's say the upper leaves are torn off. That's not niktam rosho. Even though it's the upper leaves, as the lulav, it's the leaf itself. The leaf means the the lulav itself, meaning the hadas is the stem with the leaves. So niktam means not just the leaves are torn off, actually the top of the stem is snipped off. So it's just the upper leaves fall off the hadas, it's valid. As long as you have the majority of the leaves on the hadas. Okay? Let's see the Mishna Berura. Niktam rosho. Hainu afilu hoyu kol shlosha badim niktamu roshan. Hainu afilu hoyu kol shlosha badim niktamu roshan kosher. Vein doma lulav arova. Now he's asking a good question. Lulav, it's niktam roshan, it's possible. Arova we're going to have, it's possible. So why should hadas be kosher? Right? I mean, if every one of the minim, we say, yeah, it has to meet the standard of hodor. Right? So over here also, I mean, if niktam roshan, evidently it's lacking hodor. So it's lacking hodor, so why about hadas? Hadas also has to be hodor. So why is there even consideration? There's one opinion that says that if the upper part of the hadas is snipped, it's kosher. Why do we differentiate? It's going to explain. The hadas enough of chofin rosho. Hainu ha'olin. Vein kitimosu nikeres ben. So it comes out of nafkamin la'alocha. We had earlier, if the majority of the leaves are torn off, it's possible. What about the majority are there, but the upper part, they're torn off? So he said the reason is because when it's niktam rosho, since the leaves overlap, it'll cover it. It won't be as obvious where it's cut. But a lulav, it's all leaves. So if the top is cut off, it's noticeable. A rava, the leaves grow out, right? So they don't go along the stem. So therefore, if you cut off the top, it's going to be obvious. But the hadas is less obvious. So because it's less obvious, it's not a problem. But it would only be in a very specific context, where the leaves go all the way to the top of the hadas. But let's say you have the majority of the leaves, but on the upper part, they're torn off. So if that's the case, it should be no different than the lulav and the arova, because there's nothing covering it.
Not what you could do. You can continue to clip the top off. Yeah, you correct it. You can correct it. I mean, it's long enough. It's a foot long.
But if you didn't, let's say you didn't correct it. Yeah. You're right. 100%. But what happens if you didn't? Let's say it happened on Yom Tov. Right? Because we had earlier, this is tikkun mono. You're not permitted to bring something to a level of perfection. Chalamod you could, but let's see what happened on Yom Tov. Right? The top breaks off. See, at one time, hadassim today, you could pay for 3 hadassim $24. Because they're called tzvasa hadassim. One time you bought hadas, the stem was green. Today you buy hadassim, it's a little piece of wood. It's brown. It's like a piece of wood, the stem. So at one time, let's say accidentally the hadas would bang into something, the top. It wouldn't break. It was pliable. But today, where it's literally the stem is a piece of wood. You hit into something, you break it. It could break because it's not flexible. It's not pliable. So I'm just saying, the whole concept niktam rosha, the top is broken off, unless somebody took a scissor and just snipped it. Otherwise, usually it's not. A lulav makes sense. Accidentally, you bump into something, you can actually break the tip of the lulav. You lift it too high, you hit the ceiling or you hit the wall with it. But hadas is very pliable, it doesn't happen. Tomorrow, even if you didn't have something similar to the date covering the top, covering where it was snipped, who come in tomorrow, yotzis bali arovo, the bzeh bevari koshel kuli almo. Shatmor machasa alaktimo v'enaktimin nikeres. He says sometimes like this, like a berry that grows there, a green something, that covers it. Yesh poslim v'adin liyovesh rosho l'deazu. Says according to this that we say that hodor is determined by what you see first. So he says according to this, if the upper part would be dry, it would also be possible. Yeah, this even though the majority of the leaves below are moist, but if you always everything's determined by what you first notice, if it's dry, it would be possible. No, but then you're getting into the same shaila.
You
We're
got
going down.
the dry leaves on top, then you have the good below. It looks like it's good.
No, we're talking about, I don't know. No, we're not only talking about the leaves are dry, let's say even the stem is dry. The stem and the leaves are both dry. So it's not going to help because we're going according to the opinion that if the top is snipped off, it's puzzle. So that means you're going to have to snip the stem, not only the leaves. Right? Uposhit lo mikri yovish rosh rak milbino ponov. He says yovish is only if it turned white, like we said earlier. Masha'eno motzei klal badasim shkodlo b'shonasu. He says if the das grew this year, for it to lose its greenish color, it takes years for it to lose. Avalim komush kitzas b'vara afilu achinifrach b'tziporim. But let's say it's wilted, even to the point that it becomes brittle. Lo mikri yovish. Da afil b'sharolin lo mikri yovish. We had earlier that even the leaves themselves, as long as they retain their greenish color, even though they're brittle, that if you put your thumbnail to it, it would break. Doesn't make a difference. Chedlei b'siv zayin b'niktam rosho lamed beis. Okay, we'll stop here.
It seems that the hadar is really
Ellen.
more
Yeah.
important than
Hodder is everything. Everything. Everything's revolving around what hodder is. It's the right species. No, it's not heder. Well, we're calling it heder, but it's based on hodder. Normally, how do we know heder mitzvah? Because it's supposed to say zekil and vanveyu. That when you do a mitzvah, you have to do it in the most elaborate way. This is not because it's not based on that pasuk. Here, the species are called pre-eitz hodder. The species has to have that beautiful profile. If not, it's not. It doesn't meet the. It's not the regular halacha of heder. I figured that's what it would be. I figured that's what would happen. At 7, I think you should call him again. At 7, because even though he may not be, let him send out a thing that there was a mistake made in the wrong, the Divrei Torah was sent out. Otherwise, it's like.
I don't know if he sent that out.
He did say, I spoke to him yesterday. He said, I don't know what he sent out.
Not on that list. You on that list, though?
Thank you.
Print out 2012.
No, not for us. I'm more concerned about what went out to the world, not the one that came here.
You want to print out any for us? Maybe?
That's not, I don't know, if somebody wants.
I printed yesterday afternoon. It's the wrong one.
Yeah. So if you printed it out.
I printed yesterday afternoon.
No, the wrong one went out. The wrong one went out.
How do you know?
Because if you printed out the wrong one, he sent out the wrong one.
Look at it. I just said
It said Veschanon. What did it say? It said Veschanon? He says Eikev? So he sent out the right one. Alan. No, sent out the right one. So evidently he printed out the wrong one here. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Okay. Okay, we should get started. Ernie, let's get started. Eikev, okay, good.
Right date?
Okay. So evidently Ephraim did something wrong here. It's like, you put a car tire and you put on a bicycle tire. Okay, the car's not going anywhere. Okay. Okay, whatever it is, good.
So with the Arba meaning, if something is not correct, if there's a rice question,
Good
what
idea.
is the pumba? Not with
With
other bracha. With the bracha
No, yeah, but let's say we're talking about if you have an alternative, do you have an obligation to get another one? So if it's the second day, he says you can be makel, you don't have to go get yourself another one.
But if you don't have an alternative, the first
Of
day
course
you
you do, but without a bracha. Right, exactly. That's the point we're making. Okay.